TG Geeks, episode 244, October 21st, 2019. An out trans comedian. Hello and welcome to another webcast from tggeeks.com, where Ben and Keith, the two gay geeks, talk about all aspects of geekdom and nerdery, sci-fi, comics, film, horror, genre, you name it, we talk about it. I'm Keith Lane, and we're coming to you from TG Squared Studios in lovely Phoenix, Arizona, where the allergies are kind of kicking it right now.
That was cute. And I'm Ben Raggington, also coming to you from It's the Falls. Here
the falls.
Yes, the falls.
It's
here
forward.
in techie, glitchy Phoenix, Arizona, because we just had something really goofy happen. We had to start the episode all over
again. All right, and here we go.
Prepare for hyperdrive.
Meanwhile, in the Hall of Episodes, the two gay geeks are discussing this.
Well, this episode we interview Quinn Fontaine, and Quinn is a trans man, and he has he was a comedian and continues to be a recovering alcoholic, drug addict, etc. Comedian, and talks about recovery in his comedy routine. And
we met him.
Yeah, we met him at a book signing for LGBTQ of Still, and that was really kind of interesting. He took a card and contacted us and said, I'd
like to be on your show.
Yeah, exactly. And we're going to have our birthday shout-outs. We'll have our featured podcast of the week, everybody's favorite feedback. Then we have a few shout-outs. In our second segment, we're going to talk about a couple of books that we've been reading, have our weekly recap, and our regular shout-outs at the end of the episode. So we're just going to get right to the interview right now. And this time we welcome to the show Quinn Fontaine, an out trans guy and inspirational comic. Welcome to the show, Quinn.
Hey, Keith. Hey, Ben. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So for those that don't know, we chatted with you, and you were featured on the cover of Jan Dee Gordon's LGBTQ of Still, and that's kind of how we met you at the book signing and release party that they had out in West Hollywood. And it was great to meet you out there, and you have since contacted us and said that you had something going on. But before we talk about that, why don't you give us a little background on who you are, kind of your story in a nutshell. If that can be done.
Nutshell. I'll try my best. I'll do my best.
And if it happens to be a walnut shell, that's absolutely fine. Or
how about a coconut shell?
There we go. Even to a coconut shell. There you go.
Okay. Well, I'm an out and proud trans guy, as you said in my intro. I just celebrated my 5-year anniversary on September 17th.
Happy birthday.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. It's been phenomenal. I'll be 52 at the end of this month, and just to finally be coming home to my body temple is pretty miraculous.
You are a child. You are a child.
I'm sorry?
You're a child. Compared to us.
We're older than you.
Okay, I'm a little bit. Yeah, so I'm also a survivor and a thriver of pre-verbal childhood sexual abuse at the hands of my dad. I've got 13 years off crack cocaine. I just put 2 years together off alcohol. I was a chronic relapser for years on pills and pot. I cleaned that up. So my message, plain and simple, with this nutshell phenomena,
Wow.
my message, plain and simple, is that it's never too late to be your authentic self, and it's not impossible to heal from anything. So I'm just grateful to be alive and to have an opportunity to pay and play it forward, and hopefully lead other people to healing whatever ails them, if they're ailing at all, and to remind the planet to play together. You know,
exactly.
I shouldn't, based on my life story, I should not be an optimist, and I am. I love people. I love the fact that I have a 17th chance at life and I'm taking it. And, I'm just so grateful. And I'm grateful that, that there's a word for me now, because when I grew up in rural Virginia in the 70s and 80s, I'm looking around for my people. There was nobody. The word transgender didn't even exist.
Right.
There was basically barely the L and the G of the lesbian and gay March on Washington they had once a year. And then they started adding the B for bisexual. But I was looking around as a kid, like, where are my people? And like a lot of my trans brothers and sisters, gender nonconforming brothers and sisters who grew up when I did at that time or before, like myself, we thought we were the only ones on the planet.
Right.
Because there was no way to find one another.
Exactly.
There wasn't the internet. There wasn't 1-800 helplines for, all
anything.
of us that were having, knowing early on that we were so different.
Right.
You mentioned that you were from living in rural Virginia. Having lived in Virginia myself, I'm curious, where did you live?
Well, this was in the 70s and 80s in Fredericksburg, and at the time it was very much a small town. Now it's a sprawling bedroom community of D.C.
Yes.
It's an hour south of D.C., yeah.
Yes, I'm familiar with Fredericksburg.
Where are you from?
I'm from California, but I lived in Gordonsville for a time.
Okay, I know it well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah, amazing.
This is really great, and you talked about all of have become the alphabet people, and it's LGBTQ plus now, and I think it's great. I think that we've added that umbrella for those, as you said, gender nonconformists, the asexual, the bisexual, the non-sexual, the whatever you want to be,
How about just human being?
Exactly. There you go.
I like that. Just call yourself a human being.
Yeah.
And
I like it. I think we're on a trajectory to blow apart the whole. I joke around that it's LGBTIQQ7531 dash.
There you go.
It's just getting so long because we need to be all inclusive, and that's slowly but surely where we are headed as a people.
Exactly.
I really believe that,
and I think that's
we got to
great.
pull back. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I think that's great. It's just we need to include everybody, including our straight nonconformist folks that are out there, that embrace us.
The reality is we're earthlings first.
Exactly.
Yes.
That's the reality.
Exactly.
Right? We're earthlings, and it's called the human race.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
We've had it backwards for a while, but I think we're actually slowly but surely coming together and healing this planet. And it gets a little ugly before it gets better.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations on. Can I say overcoming all of these?
Being a survivor
of all of these things that you were, that happened in your life, whether it was, because you made them happen or because they happened to you or, or whatever, however you want to phrase that. How would you phrase your addictions and whatnot as a survivor or an overcomer, or what would you say?
Well, I really love the terminology survivor / now thriver. Survivor, now thriver.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
Survivor. It goes from victim consciousness, victimhood, victim to surviving what happened to you, and then now thriving. Because if I pull back and take a look at my life, everything that happened to me and everything I chose with regard to not knowing how to heal. I mean, the best I could do for years was not deal. And so that was numbing out with drugs, alcohol, sex and love addiction, all kinds of stuff. And that was the best I could do then. That was the best I could do. And I've made peace with that, and that's something I talk about in my show and in my book is like, we're always whether you believe it or not, we're always doing the best we can based on our given skill set at the time and or our willingness to look honestly at what's in front of us or what we're dealing with.
Thank you. That's great.
Yeah, so I like that word, survivor, thriver.
Yeah, I do too.
We have a friend who yesterday celebrated 31 years of sobriety in AA. So one of our closest friends, and his husband is got 27,
20-some
28
years,
years,
yeah.
29 years, something like that. So
It's amazing.
yeah.
Wonderful.
And they're thriving.
And they're thriving. They really are.
So the idea
I
of-
think that
I like the idea of survivor thriver. I think that's a wonderful terminology because you've taken ownership of your life and it's now enriched. You know, you're not, because survivor is part of the step, but now you're a thriver, and I think that's a beautiful thing.
And speaking of that thriving, and you mentioned that just in passing, and that was a great segue. Thank you very much. You're doing my job for me about your book. Tell us about this book, and then we'll segue into your show.
Definitely. I wrote a book a couple years ago called Hung Like a Seahorse, a real-life transgender adventure of tragedy, comedy, and recovery. And it's all-encompassing. It's the nitty-gritty of what addiction was, what healing trauma looks like, and the wanting to avoid it, wanting to check out, wanting to leave the planet, and the saving grace of finding humor early on as a little person. I became funny, or I knew I was funny, but I really knew I was funny by third grade. And I became the class clown all through school. And it was a safety mechanism at the time. It was a defense mechanism.
Oh, yeah.
Like if I could make you laugh, then I know you're not laughing at me. You're laughing at what I'm
with
saying.
you. Yep.
Right, exactly.
Right.
And you're less likely to beat me up, too.
Yeah, all that stuff. Because it was not easy back then being so different.
Yeah.
And so I had the title, Hung Like a Seahorse. I just love that because it's such a play on our culture.
Yep.
Of quite the opposite. I'm hung like a horse. You want to party? I used to really go up to women in clubs and say, "I'm hung like a seahorse. Do you want to party?" And just to keep it PG-13, I met some new friends that way. Let's call it that. But I sat down to write my third solo show, knowing that would be the title, and nothing came, nothing at all.
Really?
So I had remembered that a husband and wife team that I met at Agape International Spiritual Center in LA, friends of mine, had started a publishing company. So I called them and I said, "Hey, listen, I can't write this show. Nothing's happening. Can you pull a book out of me?" And that's basically what they did. So the book happened. It did well. It was #1 international bestseller on a couple lists on Amazon. And then about a year later, I was able to sit down and write the solo show. So the solo show is called Hung Like a Seahorse, the show and tell version, and it's not X-rated, it's not R-rated, it's PG-13. I've had kids as young as 7 come to the show.
Wow.
Whole families are loving it. And it's very much more of it's still nitty-gritty storytelling, but it's more comedic than the book.
Oh, cool.
And I'm bringing that show. I've done 3 runs of that show in Santa Fe, New Mexico, where I currently live. And at the end of the month, I'm taking it to L.A. For 4 shows only. So I'm super excited because that's where I bottomed out 13 and a half years ago. I left L.A. a crack addict, alcoholic, sex addict, all from pre-verbal childhood sexual abuse. I bottomed out there and found my way to Santa Fe, New Mexico to go to treatment. And was there for 3 months as an inpatient client, and then stayed in Santa Fe to start my life over. And that's where I still live. So it's really a coming home too. Like I'm in the right body now. I'm vibrant. I'm choosing life on a daily basis. I'm feeling really good about things, and just want to come back and share my true story, and maybe hopefully lead some other people to healing. But more than anything, have people laughing, crying, and go, "What did he just say?
Yeah.
What just happened?"
What? Well, that's a fascinating story, and Santa Fe is a beautiful place, and there's some great treatment programs.
It's also
in the whole New Mexico area.
Yeah, well, Santa Fe is also a place of wonderful diversity in its own way. I mean, there's something magical about that city or that town. I can't imagine or I can't think of what exactly it is, but it has its own charm that I think that'd be a great place to kind of, experience a rebirth.
Right.
Exactly. It's been magical. I say to people, if you come to Santa Fe to heal and you don't, then you don't really want to.
Absolutely.
Because not only is it sacred land, there's every modality of healing, whether it's Eastern, Western, or cosmic. I mean, there's everything.
Absolutely.
There's great recovery in every program. Yeah, it's a magical little town, little city.
Yeah, he's been up there a couple of times. We've gone to the opera there, but I lived in Albuquerque for 8 years. In a previous life, so and visited Santa Fe regularly. So it is really a wonderful place, and New Mexico is just a wonderful place for healing in general.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you allow it to happen, and that is a great thing that you have pulled out of Santa Fe, and you stayed there. It's amazing.
Thrived.
I've lived there now. Yeah, thank you. I've lived there longer than I've lived anywhere on the planet so far. So
wow,
it's pretty interesting.
That's amazing.
Pretty magical.
Yeah, and that I could say that about Phoenix here. I've lived here longer than I've lived any place. And,
I think me too.
Actually, in a job that longer than ever.
Yeah, same for me. Now you had you made mention of shows, so.
Yeah,
you've been involved in some kind of a show business kind of life for quite some time. How did you manage to fall into that kind of business?
Well, I think being a class clown, had me curious about it from an early age. I never did anything professionally or studied professionally till I moved to San Francisco in the mid '90s or early '90s, and I started taking an acting class, and then I decided I got to try stand-up comedy. And I tried stand-up. I did an open mic, I did a 5-minute set, and I got hired right away to come out and do a paid gig at a different club doing a 15-minute set. I'm like, okay, well, there's some message from the universe that this is supposed to happen, because that was pretty quick. So I was doing stand-up comedy for a while. Then I got in with an all-female sketch comedy group in San Francisco that was amazing. And it was just 3 of us. It was a powerhouse, though. I got to learn all about finding my light, because I didn't grow up with theater in that way. Right. And so I got a crash course everywhere I went. And so I got in with them, and I learned all kinds of new things. And we were flown down to LA at one point. We were like the next hot thing, but they just didn't know what to do with us. They wanted to pair us with an all-guy group and make us the quirky neighbor girls. And we're like, thank you, but no thank you. Like, we had bigger aspirations. Those 2 women are still my best friends. That's been a phenomenal relationship. And Susan Neely is, she's one of those people, one of those 2 people, and she has directed all 3 of my solo shows.
Oh, cool.
But long story short, I got into improv. Then in LA, I was doing stand-up and improv. And I was getting in groups, especially with improv, and get by osmosis, I was learning from the top of the top. So I wasn't spending the money to go study at the Groundlings, but I was working with fellow people that were studying at the Groundlings and who were top notch. So by osmosis, I was learning all these different skill sets. And then I moved to Santa Fe, and I thought, so for treatment, I thought, oh, that's all behind me. That was just a stepping stone to embodiment, or I don't know what, but I don't see myself performing ever again. But sure enough, 2 years after I started my journey of healing the addiction, the trauma, and all of that, I was like, there's a solo show in here. And so I did my first ever solo show as Kathleen. That's my birth name. And just a non sequitur, you guys probably know this, but maybe all of your listeners don't. Many trans people, gender nonconforming people, don't like or use or reference their birth names. Right. They actually call their birth names their dead names.
Right.
I've made peace with the fact. I was Kathleen for 47 years. I'm okay with that. My first ever solo show was called Learning to Stay, i.e. learning to stay on the planet, not kill myself, learning to stay in my body moment to moment, not dissociate, and learning to get in touch with my feelings, because no one had taught me that, right? Learning to stay true to my feelings. So that was the first show, Learning to Stay. The second show, and that's nitty-gritty about healing addiction and trauma, and there's definitely some funny moments in it, but it's raw and amazing. The second show is called Kathleen Fontaine, The Man, the Mystery, because I thought, well, that's my birth name.
Yeah.
It's what you can't get more feminine than that. So let's call it Kathleen Fontaine, The Man, the Mystery, and hopefully I'll get some people walking into the show going, I had to come just because of the name.
Exactly.
Yeah, well, it's a fascinating title.
Thank you. And that show, if nothing else, I can come up with good titles. That show really was about exploring the cultural gender divide as I see it, because I have studied it my whole life, talking about my recovery from sex and love addiction, and looking at my transgender identity, but very much more a comedy than the first show.
Right.
And then the last show was Hung Like a Seahorse, the show and tell version. So this will be my 4th run doing it. First time out of state. Really, really excited. And, just kind of putting it out there. Like, if something's meant to happen with this, Meaning if it's supposed to be a national tour or something else, now's the time, universe. Wake up, listen, I need help, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So that's that. But more than anything, just to circle back to what we were talking about earlier with regard to survivor, now thriver, like so many other people who've walked through so many things like I have and come out the other side, it's really about turning pain to power. And for me, it's about paying and playing it forward. Like letting people know it's okay to be who you are. Because it feels like so many people are sitting around waiting for permission to fully be themselves because we have such a shame-based culture still.
Right.
From everything like boys don't cry to you can't do that, or you need to think realistically. You can't be an artist. Just whatever it is, we need to heal shame on so many levels because shame actually kills people. Shame has people committing suicide, as you know, and the demographic of trans people who attempt and are successful with suicide is the highest of all demographics, including combat vets.
Right.
And that is staggering.
And we on our podcast, we run a spot every single podcast for the Trans Lifeline. So we are big supporters of that. So that's a wonderful thing.
Yeah, thank you.
So with your show, what has been the reception? I mean, I hope that people have been not just accepting of what you're having to say, but not only entertained, but I would hope that they're also enlightened by what you have to share.
Thanks for asking. It's been phenomenal. The age range with all my shows has been from younger kids. I'm talking 6 and 7 year olds, all the way up to people in their mid-90s. And some families are coming. Families of origin are coming with 3 and 4 generations, and they're telling me, wow, we haven't had an experience like this ever, that we all were moved, we were all laughing, we were all crying, and we talked for hours afterwards, not just about your work and your show, but what it made us think about and the people in our lives that it made us wonder about. Is this person struggling with this? Is this person, And so the conversation that's happening is pretty phenomenal. But I've been so moved to know that it's not just LGBTQ people. My audiences are everybody. My audiences, to circle back to what we also were talking about earlier, my audiences are full of earthlings and humans that are open to a bigger conversation, And I really think, call me crazy, call me whatever you want, I really think we can heal this planet in our lifetime.
Right.
Why? Because the minute we decide, we are powerful beings. We are manifestors, individually and collectively. If we can decide to get on the same page around the fact that we are earthlings first, like maybe the Space Force will wake us up to that. Who knows? Yeah. But what is the reality of we're all here together. Let's be together. Let's heal this stuff. The reality too, I think there are only 2 choices in life. Love or fear, moment to moment. What are you choosing? And when people are acting out with anger and hate and venom, that's all just fear-based stuff. Right. But how many people in our culture are able to even say, "Hey, I'm just scared. This is foreign to me. This is new to me. I don't know how to be with this." And so we need to uplevel the languaging between one another. That where we create safe space for boys to cry without shame, for people to have the whole spectrum of emotions without shame, right? For years, as a practicing addict, and then even when I was newly clean and sober, I thought I could do 2 things. I could be life of the party or go hide. Those are 2 ends of a spectrum. I didn't know there were all these gradients of life in between those 2. And I'm learning that now.
Well, I think we're seeing,
okay.
We're seeing a lot happen, especially in the areas of social media that echo what you're saying now about having this conversation and having this honesty out there. I mean, one of the big things that I'm seeing a lot that's being talked about now on social media, Facebook and Twitter, is mental health.
Right.
And it's such a refreshing conversation because I've got my own mental health problems, and I know a lot of people do. Yeah. So it's nice to say, it's okay to say, I have this problem. There is no need to be ashamed of it, because you're right. Shame is like the big killer. And I think that's the one thing that we're not really looking at yet.
Right. And to reclaim your power and that you told us about in Jan's book, the LGBTQ of Still, is reclaiming who you are and claiming that power, and you are a powerful individual. So,
and thank you too. And the reality too with shame is it's a silent killer. Because one reason it takes people out is because shame implies be quiet, don't talk about it.
Exactly. So it's wonderful that you're having that you're taking this experience of your own life and being able to shine a light on that, and you say, we don't need the shame in our lives. I think it's what you're doing is magnificent.
Exactly. And I just want to say as well, I want to piggyback, I too deal with mental health challenges, and I'm really mindful to watch my languaging. So I don't want to say I have mental illness. It puts me in a really rigid box, with padded walls.
Right.
I prefer to say sometimes I have lack of mental wellness. Right?
That's better.
It really implies that there's movability, right? That I'm not stuck there forever.
Exactly.
Right.
Because we're never stuck. We're never stuck unless we decide to be.
That is true.
Yeah.
I want to have more conversation with you because I think there's so much. This is like an onion. You can just peel layer after layer after layer. But unfortunately, we're hitting up against the red line. So I want to recommend all of our listeners, if they have an opportunity to check you out, Quinn Fontaine, because I think that you've got an amazing message out there for everybody to listen to, regardless of their walk of life. So if people want to learn more about you, do you have a social media presence by which they can follow you on?
Yes, I do. So on Facebook, I'm Quinn Alexander Fontaine. On Instagram, I'm The Man, The Mystery, all one word, smushed together. Instagram, The Man, The Mystery. Twitter is Quinn Fontaine and the number 1.
Okay. Very good. And people, your show.
Yeah.
Tell us about your show.
And my show. Yeah, thank you so much. I'm going to be in L.A. So the first show is Saturday, October 26th at 8 p.m. at the Santa Monica Playhouse. It's part of the big theater festival, so that's pretty exciting. The following weekend, November 1st and 2nd, that's Friday and Saturday, 8 p.m., and Sunday at 3 at the Hudson Backstage Theater, and that's right there in West Hollywood.
Wow.
Fantastic.
That is great. So thank you for being on our show. This was a fascinating conversation.
Guys, thanks for having me. And I'll never forget meeting you. You're both such bright lights.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
True story.
Hi, this is Ginny Koch, author of the Alien Catherine Kitty Cat series from Daw Books, part of Penguin Random House, and you are listening to the Two Gay Geeks Webcast.
That never gets old.
The Webcast.
The Webcast. She couldn't say that right.
Well, it's okay.
Well,
We've been drinking. We couldn't say anything right either.
No, I think we had already consumed 2 bottles of wine.
Exactly.
So we were pretty lit.
Anyway, we have to say that I received an email from Quinn this week, and he's informed me that he had to cancel his shows in the Los Angeles area because of some personal issues going on, and hopes to do that again soon. But he talked about those in his interview, and we just wanted to let you know that those had been canceled. But we wanted to run the interview anyway because it was such a great interview.
It was a great conversation.
Yeah, so just let you know about that. Here's a few selected birthdays for October 21st through October 27th, 2019. October 21st, Carrie Fisher.
Gone but never forgotten.
Yep, and I'm so glad that at the end that she was living her authentic self, and she was just being who she was.
And she still had the acting chops.
Yeah.
I believe I wrote in my review for Star Wars The Force Awakens that I was highly impressed with her acting ability.
Yeah.
She went out very strongly, and she left us too soon. And so we miss you, Carrie.
Yes, we do. Also, Ken Watanabe. And also on October 21st, Lillian Bettencourt. She was the principal shareholder, or was the principal shareholder of L'Oreal, and she inherited that from her father. And at the time of her death, she was the richest woman in the world.
Oh, good grief!
She helped to diversify that company and grew to be a behemoth in the cosmetics industry. And also on October 21st, Ursula K. Le Guin, or Le Guin, or
I'm not sure how it's pronounced.
However you say it.
I've heard Le Guin.
Whatever you want to say about her. Also, Sir George Schulte, who was famed conductor. And his ring cycle is supposed to be the definitive ring cycle, but who knows? Also, October 21st, Mary Blair. Most people don't know Mary's name, but she was actually born in McAlester, Oklahoma, just south of where I grew up. And for the Walt Disney Company, she did the concept art for Alice in Wonderland, Cinderella, and all of the dolls and scenes in It's a Small World. So that is Mary Blair. October 22nd, Jeff Goldblum.
Oh, dear.
Pop culture icon who plays himself.
He's also an amazing jazz pianist.
Yeah.
Oh, he's really talented.
Yeah. Christopher Lloyd.
Okay, now see, this is the thing that really cracks me. You got two completely bonkers guys who share the same day.
Yep. Christopher Lloyd, what can you say? He was...
Well, Kirk, you're not going to give me Genesis? Okie doke.
And Joan Fontaine, who was Olivia de Havilland's sister. Daniel Boone, explorer. Franz Liszt, Hungarian composer and model for your mother's hair sometimes, or at least she says so.
Yes.
Annette Funicello, who is a Mouseketeer and...
arguably one of the most popular of the Mouseketeers.
And developed multiple sclerosis.
Yes.
And that's what she eventually
Sadly,
died.
she's passed away.
And Sarah Bernhardt.
Oh my God, we met her.
No.
We didn't meet Sarah Bernhardt?
No.
Oh, thought we did.
Sarah Bernhardt
was...
unless she was 112.
Oh. I'm thinking of Sandra Bernhardt. I'm sorry.
You are.
I'm thinking of her younger sister.
Yes. Kind of like I was thinking of whenever Roberta Peters.
Oh, yes. I didn't know Bernadette Peters was an opera singer.
Yeah. Anyways, Sarah Bernhardt, she was an actress of stage and early screen, and an interesting thing was that she purchased a coffin to sleep in to prepare herself for tragedies.
Oh my God!
Yeah, really strange.
That's grim.
Very strange. And also on October 22nd, Derek Jacobi, who just an incredible actor. I remember him in the 70s. I, Claudius.
Oh yes,
just what an incredible actor.
Truly gifted actor. There's a great story that Sir Ian McKellen, when he was much younger, saw Derek Jacobi and just was madly in love with him, but was just too afraid to ever say anything.
Yep.
And now the two of them act together a lot, which I think is wonderful.
And also October 22nd, Jesse Tyler Ferguson, an out gay man on television that was very successful. And Ettore Boiardi, who...
as in chef?
Exactly. He was the chef had started working at the Plaza Hotel and worked his way up to chef, and then opened a restaurant of his own, and people kept asking for samples of his spaghetti sauce, and so he would clean out milk bottles and give them samples of the sauce, or sell them samples of the sauce. And some patrons of his restaurant happened to own a distribution company and some grocery stores, so they set up this whole thing to be able to mass produce his sauces, and thus was born Chef Boyardee, and he changed his name from Boiardi to Boyardee. So Chef Boyardee. And also on October 22nd, Facebook friend Jessica Butler. October 23rd, Johnny Carson. Michael Crichton, who wrote some incredible...
his science fiction books are amazing.
Sci-fi, including Andromeda Strain. Which
one of my favorites.
One of the favorites. And also Weird Al Yankovic.
Oh, we had the pleasure of seeing that maniac a couple of months ago.
Yeah, it was
a fabulous show. I loved it.
It really was. October 24th, Kevin Kline. B.D. Wong, who has been in every Jurassic insert name here.
Yeah, every Jurassic Park film.
Yeah.
Another out gay actor.
Yep. And so there was some other things that he was in. I can't remember. I didn't write them down. But anyway, so F. Murray Abraham, who was Salieri, among other great
He won an
parts.
Academy Award for that.
Absolutely. And he was Chris in The Ritz.
Oh. I think he's my favorite character. He steals the movie. He's amazing.
He steals every scene he's in.
He's hilarious in the Ritz.
October 25th, Pablo Picasso and Georges Bizet, who wrote Carmen and the Pearl Fishers and a number of other things, and John Anderson.
Former lead singer of Yes, but I think he'll always be associated with that band.
Absolutely. And good friend of ours, Greg Hall. Happy birthday, Greg. October 22nd, or 26th, Seth MacFarlane, who, the Orville, among other things.
Yes.
Carrie Elwes of
The Princess Bride.
And Tom Cavanaugh.
Of The Flash. Who's also a very, very good director. I did a review a few months back, maybe earlier this year. He directed a comedic short film that he did with Grant Gustin, and these two guys are supposed to be like bank robbers, and it is hilariously funny. But he does some fantastic shots. I mean, I was impressed with how good a director he really is.
Yeah. And also Domenico Scarlatti, who actually was a famed Baroque composer. His father was actually a genius in his own right, but Scarlatti did harpsichord works that are still studied today as mandatory things to study for the harpsichord starting out. Also, Roger Alam, who was in V and Speed Racer, among other things. October 27th, John Cleese.
Oh, good grief.
He was Nearly Headless Nick. That's his most famous role, I think.
Actually, I would think it's Basil.
Yes.
Faulty Towers.
Oh, yeah. Well, among...
I mean, I know him best from Monty Python's Flying Circus.
Exactly.
But I think more people might actually know him from Faulty Towers.
Yeah. And Niccolo Paganini, who wrote some incredible music and some virtuosic pieces for violin, who happened to be a violin virtuoso himself. And Robert Picardo.
The
Holodoc. And also on October 27th, a friend of ours, Alice Harper and Brian Wensloff. And that's it for the birthdays this time.
Technorama, the podcast for geeks, because geeks are better than cool. You don't hear someone say, "Get away from me, you cool person." Who's gonna have their 65-inch home theater system installed by the Cool Squad? Not me, that's for sure. How much cool cred do you have? Not enough to care about. Think you'll find any canned unicorn meat at thinkcool.com? It's just a part domain name. They don't even have roadkill in a paper cup. That's why you need to start listening to Technorama, because that's what geeks do. Go to chuckchat.com and listen to Technorama before you turn cool.
Go give a listen to our friends Chuck and Craig over at Technorama Podcast.
I'm Daniel Radcliffe, and I believe that reaching out for help is the bravest thing a person can do. If you are struggling and need support, call the Trevor Lifeline at 1-866-488-7386. It's free and confidential, and trained counsellors are there to listen 24/7 without judgment. To learn more about the Trevor Project's life-saving work for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, or questioning young people, go to thetrevorproject.org.
I got a little bit of feedback on a run through. This starts with TG Geeks episode number 241. And on that one, we during our birthday segment, we gave a happy birthday greeting to a classmate of mine, Jackie Taryn Rankle. And I gave the little anecdotal story about how I accidentally kind of ruined her little scene we were doing in a Drama 101 final. I blew a line and ended up bypassing this entire wonderful spiel that she was supposed to give, and I continued to hang my head in shame. Anyway, she wrote, and she says, "I just got to listening today. I don't remember that at all." Love you, Ben Raggington. I'm like, well, okay, Jackie, I adore you too. And I'm so grateful you don't remember. We actually then had this great conversation going back and forth with each other about how I remember it. I'm highly ashamed. And she says, I don't remember anything about it. Obviously didn't bother me any. So anyway, I thought that was just amusing. I thought I'd share that with you. And then moving on to TG Geeks episode number 242. First, we got a comment from Arkle, Mr. Brian Weber.
Replying again.
Yes, he says, regarding the birthday segments, while I do agree that most of the vacation films have aged terribly, and a couple of them weren't that good to begin with, I actually do think that for the most part, Christmas Vacation still holds up.
Yep.
In fact, I'd probably tell a younger person looking to get into older comedies to only watch that one and just ignore the others. I'm going to agree.
Yeah.
Seriously, I'm going to agree because I think, that's the one that holds up. That is, because there's something really timeless.
Yeah.
I think that...
Well, it's all the stereotypical family drama.
Because
and
they're true.
It's true, exactly.
There is so much truth in this film.
The crazy relatives that show up,
The yuppie neighbors who live next door.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot
fighting with the Christmas decorations.
Oh, God, yeah. So, yes. Trying to find the perfect Christmas tree.
Oh, God.
Oh, yes. So, yeah, there's a lot of truth. That the other films, they're just being ridiculous to be ridiculous. That one, there's so much truth, and I think that's why it holds up. And then lastly, we got a comment from Michael Mardelli, who we interviewed for that episode. He says, check out my interview with TG Squared students and come meet the dark web crew at our panel. Actually, this was like a couple of Sundays ago at Los Angeles Comic-Con, and then he gives her the location. And the only reason I bring this up is, Michael, if you're listening to this, and I really hope you are, please get back with us because I'd like to know how that panel went.
Exactly. Yeah.
Let us know how that panel went. I'm really hoping you guys got a really good turnout because I thought Dark Web was a great show.
It was incredible. I really enjoyed it.
I enjoyed it
a
a great deal. So that's our feedback for this time.
And if you want to leave us a comment or feedback or on anything that we publish, whether it's on these episodes or any of the articles that we publish on tggeeks.com, you can do that on each individual article or episode at tggeeks.com, on our Facebook page, because we publish everything to Facebook, and hopefully it all shows up correctly. And speaking of that, if you have difficulty with some of the links on Facebook,
if you're using a mobile device,
please either scroll down to the bottom and select desktop and refresh, or use the ellipses in the upper right-hand corner and select Open in Browser. It should come up for you, and hopefully you won't have any more difficulty. But you can comment on our items at Facebook. You can comment on Twitter and Instagram. We also have a listener feedback line if you want to leave us a voicemail, and we'll play that on air, and you can be a star too.
Yeah, and it's not just moldy, it's rusty now.
Yeah, exactly. You can call us at 469-TG-GEEKS. That is 469-844-3357. And when leaving feedback, please play nice. Well, next time we're talking to Ben Scrivens, who is the founder and owner, runner, everything of FrightRags.com.
Mm-hmm.
We've run a number of their things, and he's got some really neat merchandise. So,
the whole story about how Fright Rags got started is really good too. I mean, there's something very entrepreneurial about it.
Exactly.
It's a great business.
Yeah, you should check it out. If you are in transition or have already transitioned and are in crisis, or you know of someone in crisis, there is a special hotline just for you. The hotline is provided by translifeline.org and staffed by specially trained counselors who are transgender themselves. The hotline in the U.S. is 877-565-8860. In Canada, it is 877-330-6366. Or you can go to the translifeline.org for more information about the important work they are doing. Please reach out for help.
Yeah, baby. They're like two gay geeks. They're together, you know. They're two gay guys and they're geeks. Is that okay?
So, Keith mentioned at the top of the episode that there were a couple of books that we have read and thought we'd talk about them a little bit. First off, I had read Out of Body. This is a book that's written by Suzanne Brockman. And how this came about is it's very convoluted. In short, Jason Gaffney, who we interviewed not long ago for Analysis Paralysis, had posted on social media that they were now in post-production for their next movie, a rom-com called Out of Body. And so I got to Jason and started talking to him about it, and then he made mention of the book. So I went and bought the book. And oh my God, can I say this book was a gem. I've already got a review written for it. You can find the review. In fact, it'll be in the show notes for this episode at tggeeks.com. But I absolutely loved the book. It's a paranormal comedy and a gay romantic comedy as well. I don't want to go into too much because there are just too many outrageous things that happen in here. But what I love is Suzanne's writing. She really has a sense of being able to come up with very diverse characters. And when I mean diverse, I'm not talking about, one's gay, one's not, that kind of thing. I'm talking diverse in personality types, because the two main characters, they are so different from each other. And yet there's this great consistency, whether they're talking or whether they're speaking, especially how they relate to each other. And something really wacky happens one Halloween night. Oh. So, you can take the term out of body and kind of maybe guess at what happened. You might be right. But then she adds the paranormal aspect of it. And that's when, because you're adding the supernatural, you can throw, everything into the wind and just say, oh, let's go as bonkers with this as we can get. And there are just some outrageously funny things that happen in this book. And yet she manages to balance it so well with the romantic aspect of it. I mean, this really is as balanced a romantic comedy as I've ever read. I absolutely loved the book, and even said, this is one of those books that I can read again and again and again and not get tired of it. I thought it was delightful. I think Suzanne Brockman now has a new fan in me. I'm going to start looking at some of her other works now, especially when they're those that are LGBTQ. But I think she's an amazing writer. Man, I can't say enough about this book, and I'm really excited to see this movie when it finally comes out sometime next year in 2020. Yeah. But yeah, that's my thoughts on Out of Body. But now you read something.
Yeah, I finally finished up Scott Coatsworth's The Shoreless Sea, which was the third in the Liminal Sky series. And wow, what a wind up.
It was affecting you.
Yeah,
because there were moments where you were in tears.
There was a couple of moments. Once in the last third of the book about a death of a favorite character, and it really affected me. And then at the end of the book,
you came in and you started weeping all over again.
The whole crux of the story of the whole series, that character had a very beautiful send-off. It was incredible. And the story is about Earth is coming to an end, basically. I mean, we've used up all the resources. The oceans have raised up because all the polar ice caps have melted, and it's just war and famine and yuck, and people are trying to just live. And somebody has come up with an idea where it's a seed, or it's a bio-mind, if you will, and it starts out as a seed, and then it grows a ship that is as we talked about in the interview with him, a biosphere, if you will, where people live in this thing, and it is on its way to the nearest planet that is inhabitable. And it's the whole story of that ship over, like a 70-year period or so. And or actually more than that, almost 100 years. And it really is a great series to read. I would encourage anybody to, if you like good sci-fi and there's lots of gay characters and gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender, non-conforming, etc. characters in these books, I would encourage you, and it's just taken as matter of fact.
But still within the confines of a really compelling story.
Exactly. The story was very compelling. I picked up the first book in preparation for the interview that we were going to do with him, and wow, the first book just blew me away. And then so I picked up the second book, and then I had just finished the second book when we interviewed him. And thank you to Scott for sending me an advanced reading copy. I bought a copy of it as well. So not to, anybody that sends us something that we...
Oh, no. We don't do that.
We always buy after we've had an advanced reading copy. So, we like to be supportive of the authors that have been good to us. So, but it was a great book. I can't recommend it or the series enough. And it's called, the first one was The Great Divide. And then, I can't remember but look for the Liminal Sky series, J. Scott Coatsworth, and check it out.
Does he sell those on his queersci-fi.com?
Yes.
There you go.
So, yes, check out queersci-fi.com as well. And that's it for
this.
Yeah.
That's it for this.
That's it for this. That's for that. And this and that.
And tit for tat.
And Super Cat. Yeah.
Super Cat? How about Dingbat?
As everybody knows, we're huge supporters of independent creators, whether it's filmmakers, comic book artists, writers, or others. We want you to be able to share things about those independent creators with other people. If you see their work and you like their work, tell other people about them, buy their stuff, read their stuff, watch their films, tell other people about their films. Please support them, because we found that there is some incredible talent in independent creators. So please consider supporting independent creators. The Joshua Tree Feeding Program is a 501c3 nonprofit food pantry for the HIV/AIDS community in Maricopa and Pinal counties in Arizona. They offer a place where the clients can select from a wide assortment of nutritional foods to take home, and they set it up as a store so the clients can come in and choose only the food that they want, so that empowers them to choose what they want and not waste any food. It's not like you just go in and get a food box. You go in and select the food that they want. They also have a pet assistance program that they have pet supplies, and they are an all-volunteer organization. So they have very little overhead. So please consider supporting Joshua Tree, either through a monthly recurring gift or a singular gift. You can go to jtfp.org. The Grand Canyon Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence are having their Red Dress Ball. I think this is the third annual Red Dress Ball. It is on November 16th, 2019 at the Parsons Center for Health and Wellness, and that's on Central Avenue. It starts at 7 p.m. It is $20, and all of the proceeds go to help Joshua Tree Feeding Program and AIDS Walk Arizona, which is sponsored by the Aunt Rita's Foundation. Please check out the Grand Canyon Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence Red Dress Ball. And Ben has our weekly recap.
Yes, starting with Sunday, October 13th, Dr. Zombie, Monster Family Physician number 70. Wow. Also, Fanbase Press announces Quince, the definitive bilingual edition, and nuclear power in celebration of its 10th anniversary.
Yeah,
we're talking 10th anniversary of Fanbase Press.
Well, 10th anniversry of nuclear power and Fanbase Press.
Oh, I didn't realize nuclear power was also doing their 10th.
It was one of the first things that they published.
Uh-huh.
And they're a really great organization. They are very supportive of independent creators. They're bringing people together and doing publishing, and just all kinds of wonderful stuff.
They're becoming quite the movers and shakers in that
They are.
particular genre, or in that medium, I should
love
say.
Bryant and Barbara.
Oh, they're adorable.
And they're an adorable couple, too.
Yes.
So.
Also, Monday, October 14th, TJ Geeks episode number 243. On Tuesday the 15th, breaking news, Katie Edwards interview, The Last Son, picked for TV development. Ladies and gentlemen, this is one you have to take a look at. Again, the link for this one will be in the show notes for this episode. This interview is embedded into the website. That's the only way you can hear it. But oh my God, people, you need to listen to this interview. It is hot, hot, hot. Then, moving on to Wednesday, October 16th, Andrea's Angle, Maleficent, Mistress of Evil, is stunningly beautiful. On Thursday, October 17th, Ben's Gay Breakdown, where love is an out-of-body experience. You see what I just did there? And then on Friday the 18th, New Sushi number 84.
Wow.
I know.
I mean, let's see.
84.
84, that will put...
It's like a year and a half almost.
Well, almost at the end of the year, we'll be at 100 on that.
Exactly.
That's amazing.
Morsels of news from Japan and beyond, obviously. And then on Saturday the 19th, oh man, Ben's Breakdown, Apocalypse Later International Fantastic Film Festival Review. As long as the title is, it took me that long just to be able to edit this review. It was my 57 movies, people.
Yeah, 57
it was
movies.
I mean,
a little short. You know,
they're mini reviews, but it took me a long time to put that whole thing together. But wow, what an event. If you want to check out, and those are great movies, so I would urge people to take a look at that article as well. And again, that link will be in the show notes for this episode at tggeeks.com.
And you can find all of these things at tggeeks.com, as well as entries on our Facebook page. And let's see, what do we have now?
Need to give a couple of shout outs. First to the Human Arkle. On Twitter, he's known as the Human Arkle and Dale versus Evil, but he's just doing that for Halloween. Anyway, he puts out the Arkle Times Post Dispatch News, and he republishes our content from time to time there, and you can find it by going to Twitter and searching at Arkle, A-R-K-L-E. And he also has the Shameless Cash Grab Season 3 on YouTube. The last regular episode of Season 3, Episode 19, is up, and the wrap-up is scheduled for Halloween itself. You can find that by going to youtube.com/Arkle Studios. Also, we need to give a couple of shout-outs to some Facebook groups for allowing us to post our episodes and relevant articles in their pages. First, Two Gay Geeks After Hours. Big thanks to the moderators for when I asked them if I could share our content there. They said, oh, please share away. And their URL is facebook.com/group/Gay Geeks After Hours, and that's all one word. And then to The Gay Geek for also allowing us to share our glorious stuff there. And their URL is facebook.com/group/The Gay Geek, again, all one word. With special thanks to their moderator, Jeremiah Reeves, for being a total mensch and allowing us to share all of our stuff there.
Yep. Thank you, Jeremiah. And lastly, we can be found on Spotify, TuneIn, Stitcher, as well as where other fine podcasts can be found. Also, check us out on Krypton Radio at 3 a.m. and 3 p.m. Pacific time on Tuesdays. Listen to their other content. They're a 24-hour geeky internet radio station. Please rate us and review us on iTunes. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Okay, that should do it for this episode of TG Geeks Webcast. Be sure to check out the article for this webcast. We're going to have several links that we talked about, things that we talked about, on the page. And remember, you can comment on our Facebook page or our website, tggeeks.com. You can leave a voicemail at 469-TG-GEEKS. That is 469-844-3357 from TG Squared Studios. I'm Keith Lane. Thanks for listening. Please be kind to yourself and to those around you. Peace.
Cheers.